This show brought to you by GoDaddy.com. Use promo code TVI6 and get $5 off any order over $30.
Verizon's long been looking for a suitable competitor to the iPhone and the Palm Pre. At first, Verizon thought that a touchscreen device made by BlackBerry, or made by Research in Motion, called the BlackBerry Storm, would be the answer. It was, of course, a touchscreen that had a press screen, rather, which means you can push down on the screen and it'll actually click. The first iteration didn't meet with as much critical praise as Verizon probably would have liked. The next iteration sounds like they fixed some of the problems and people are liking it more. What do people think about the new device? We bring in a couple technology journalists. First off, Harry McCracken from Technologizer. Harry, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Randall.
Also, we bring in Seth Porges from Popular Mechanics. Seth, thanks for being with us as well.
Thanks again.
So the BlackBerry Storm 2, Walt Mossberg's come out with his review. He seems to think they worked out some of their issues. I don't know, Harry, what's your take on the BlackBerry Storm 2?
Well, I mean, the original Storm was an interesting challenge because BlackBerry, for a decade, has been synonymous with really good physical keyboards, and they're trying to do something that takes away this famous feature of theirs and replaces something that sort of feels like it but isn't it. And they're obviously trying to compete directly with the iPhone. And overall, the sales of the Storm were not terrible, but also weren't great. Yeah. And the reviews were fairly mediocre. And you know, not too long after, they're trying again with another technology, which tries to get rid of the physical keyboard.
Yeah, and the first time it came out, everyone was kind of like, wow, you could push a touchscreen? That sounds really interesting. When people actually got it into their hands, the problem was there was one gigantic button, and the screen actually pivoted on top of that button. So if you were pushing on two sides of the screen, rapidly like you would with a keyboard, sometimes you'd have to wait for the keyboard to return to, or the screen rather, to return to its static position. Now, Seth, they're using this new technology that's supposed to alleviate the problem by putting these four piezoelectronic sensors on the screen. Now, you actually, before the show, you mentioned you're doing a story about this. How's this going to work, and how is this actually going to make things a little bit better?
Well, piezoelectricity is this really interesting concept that scientists have actually known about since the 1800s. It's that old, and it occurs naturally in a lot of materials. And what it basically means, piezoelectricity, is a substance that has the ability to transform electrical energy into physical stress or vice versa. So what BlackBerry is doing, if I'm correct in my understanding of it, is they're creating a device that has kind of like a very hard screen when it's turned off to be protective and so it doesn't move. But then when it's turned on, the electricity can allow certain parts of it to be soft, so they can be depressed like a button. And this is a really, really cool, compelling application because the screen itself changes texture and changes shape and changes toughness. And this has a lot of really interesting applications. Now, I've yet to play with the device, so I don't know how it's actually going to be implemented or if it's going to work well or if it's just really cool sounding. But this is the kind of thing that's been used in things like Braille devices, and it occurs naturally in human bone, it occurs in lots of crystals, and only recently have researchers been putting it into consumer devices. And so this is really one of the first mainstream mass consumer devices that use this kind of thing. And if they can do it well, it could herald in a whole new era of piezoelectric devices. Well, it's really kind of a pioneer in this regard.
Well, and it's really interesting too because at least it's something new, right? Before people kind of looked at the Storm, this sure press keyboard seemed like a good idea, but since it didn't work out so well, people kind of discounted it and said, oh, it's just a gimmick. If this piezoelectricity thing works, it could actually be pretty interesting.
Well, nobody can ever say that BlackBerry's not trying anything new. I was as harsh a critic as there ever was for the original Storm. I think my problem wasn't so much with the clicking as it was with the software, which is very buggy and slow, especially when it first came out. They've probably improved that. In fact, they almost certainly have. Now, we have yet to see whether this is a more efficient mechanism of kind of creating tactile feedback. And you can kind of tell that Research in Motion is obsessed with tactile feedback. They're obsessed with haptics. They refuse to put out a touchscreen smartphone. It just kind of lives as a touchscreen, like Apple.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of interesting if they're doing this. Let's see if it actually pays off, though.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. At least they're trying something new. Now, Harry, what are sort of the things that if people are looking for a phone, they're thinking maybe I should get the Storm 2. I mean, in the back of your head, if you're making a buying decision, what are some of the things that you're thinking about as relating the BlackBerry Storm 2 to something like the Palm Pre or the iPhone? I mean, obviously the first thing is the sure press screen, but other than that, kind of how do you relate it to other things?
Well, I mean, the other thing that BlackBerry is really, really good at is corporate email and calendaring. And I imagine that the Storm 2, that's still going to be one of the biggest advantages. It works really well with business infrastructure. Obviously, I mean, the single coolest thing about the iPhone is the vast quantity of applications at low prices. And BlackBerry is is starting to ramp up an app store, but it's way behind there. That's just not one of the big attractions of the platform so far. And looking at Walt Mossberg's review, it sounds like the web browser is still not up there with the iPhone and the Pre.
Yeah, go figure. I mean, you can't. I'm excited to at least try this out and see, if this is sort of an alternative to, the Palm Pre or the iPhone. I think those are really multimedia-centric devices, and to have a business-centric touchscreen, I think that's really kind of a different peg that they're doing, and it'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it there. Harry McCracken from Technologizer, really appreciate you being on the show. Also, Seth Porges from Popular Mechanics, thanks for being on the program as well.
Thanks again.
I'm Randall Bennett, and don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes, we're on YouTube, and a special thanks to our sponsor, GoToMeeting. You can get 30 days for free by checking out gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts. See ya.